thing that I want to, that it urged me to push my button is the business friendly, the business friendly, the business friendly, the business friendly statement. Wasn't it just a few years ago that the city of Los Angeles actually made a real step in the right direction of being more business friendly than we were before? And if you remember that, I would like you to remind us how much in city revenue, annual city revenue, that impacted the city annually from that business friendly step.
City revenues from business tax actually went up, council member.
Okay, but okay, I'm sorry, let me say it differently. You're falling right into what I'm trying to say. How much was the estimate of the different structure that businesses would save annually?
This is Mel Cohn, BTAC member, and part of your history of 5 years ago. In the year 2000, Los Angeles business tax revenues were approximately $300 million. 2 years ago, and the Office of Finance can correct me, they were approximately $450 million. So with tax reform during your period, which cost $92 million for the Office of Finance, we basically have had a swing in revenue of $250 million between the increase and what you say.
I really appreciate your volunteerism, and I really appreciate your efforts, and I really appreciate you explaining to us how we still have issues we need to cover, and that's what they're trying to do, and I hope you appreciate that. But my point is this thing about being more business friendly, the problem is it's a moving target, it's esoteric, and it really doesn't have a number to it. But however, we did in fact do something very tangible where we restructured a big part of our business filings. We reduced it to where if you're in a business and your gross receipts are less than $100,000 a year, you're not having to pay fees, etc. There were a lot of things that we did, and my point is, it reminds me again that this is the kind of issue that it's so, the appetite is so insatiable from the business community to just say business friendly, business friendly, business friendly, that you really aren't recognizing the fact that we have more efforts recently with this particular council makeup than ever in the history of Los Angeles that I'm aware of, that we have actually corrected things, helped business out, made it more business friendly, but at the same time, even in this discussion, Mel, you failed to actually acknowledge the fact that we made a big giant step just a few years ago. And when you mentioned $92 million, that was the number I was looking for. But again, it was lost in your answer because you touched on it, but you decided to speak about everything else and all the problems and issues that we still have. And it's really sad because this business-friendly mantra really doesn't help your cause when you're not willing to recognize when we actually do things right and we do go in the right direction.
Councilmember, if I could respectfully respond. Lloyd Greif again. And I was not on BTAC 1 as Mel was, and Mike Banner on my right were, so this is BTAC 2. Yes, you're correct. The business tax rates were brought down as a result of the recommendations in council action. I think they were brought down about 15%. What we're dealing with is the fact that there are 88 cities in this county of Los Angeles. Los Angeles, even with that reduction, still has by far the highest business tax rate of any of the other 87 cities. Los Angeles has by far the highest business tax rate of any comparable major metropolitan city in the U.S. And on average, we're about 50 times higher than the average for the rest of the county.
Mr. President, thank you for admonishing the city of Los Angeles once again. And that kind of attitude is probably not going to get the kind of cooperation you want from policymakers. Why don't you focus on the good and the bad rather than just reminding us that we do have an appetite for business taxes in this city? But you know what? We're not going to change it overnight. And it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of cooperation from you and all of us. So there you go again, just pointing out all of the things that business is mounted.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Rosendahl.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for what you said.
There is a very good story to tell here. Mel, you were a big part of it. Whether you said it, whether you led with it as much as Mr. Cardenas would have liked or not, I think we all have a very good story to tell about Los Angeles, which is that we're on the right path.